Satnam, aloha everybody. Let me know if you can hear me okay, clearly. And I'm just checking. So you're writing down your human design type, I see, and your astrology information if you can. Okay. So let's tune in first with the Adi Mantra. And remember, if you're not a practitioner of Kundalini Yoga or a teacher, or you've done my programs or webinars, this is the tradition of Kundalini Yoga and meditation. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And basically it's aligning you with your higher self, right? So in Kundalini Yoga, we teach, well, in everything that I approach, it's like that everything you need is already inside you. So this aligns you with that. Okay, so let's tune in first. And you can bring your palms together and rub them. And bring your hands into a prayer pose at your heart center. And if you're completely a newbie, then just your intention is just to be with your higher self, right? Your inner sage. So take some long, deep breaths through your nostrils. And relax your shoulders and relax your neck muscles. Relax your facial muscles. Relax your sitting bones. And just with your intention, bring all your energy into this present now moment. And setting your intention to receive the information that you need to hear on your healing journey at this time. So just open up to receive. And inhale deeply. Exhale. Inhale to the base of the spine. Exhale. And inhale to tune in. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And inhale deeply. Suspend the breath. Press your palms together and bring your focus to your third eye, the point between your brows, and channel the energy up. And exhale and relax your hands down. Great, great, great. Okay, so let me see if you can. So nobody said that they can hear me. I'm assuming you can hear me. Okay. Okay, I see. Okay, sounds excellent. Great, thank you. So, how is everybody doing? And welcome on Saturday. We're mixing it up today. I needed a day to myself as I put that in the post, just to integrate. What was I going to say? So last night, I don't know if you guys relate to this. I'm a lucid dreamer. I've got Venus in the 12th house with Rahu, North Node. That's a signature of lucid potential to be a lucid dreamer. Anyways, really getting the strong information in the dream world that this is choice time. And I've been talking about this for a long time, but I'm really feeling like people need to make their choice now. So you got to be, hot or cold. You be hot or cold, but don't be lukewarm, right? Hot or cold. Hot is like I'm choosing the way of love. I'm choosing to do this inner work. I'm choosing to be liberated in this lifetime. Or I'm cold and I'm going to follow the ego and I'm going to learn all about the ego and the material world. And that's okay too, but it's just about making the choice not to be in this middle ground, right? So I want to talk about the full moon here. And so let me just get this all settled so I can relax. There we go. Okay. So my channel, just so you guys know, especially if you're new, my channel is about transmuting shadow patterns. Transmuting shadow patterns, right? According to human design gene keys. And that's what this this chart is all about. So if you don't have your chart, you want to go to the information box and there's a link there. Get your free chart and just follow along, and you're going to learn all about your natal chart, right? So remember that we're moving through a great time right now, finishing up a 400-year or thereabouts cycle for 2027. And this is what we're seeing out in the external, and we're really seeing it happen really, really fast right now. And this is the dismantling of all these institutions, right? These structures are breaking down, and they're dissolving, and it's nothing to be afraid of. It's just part of our evolutionary process. So I'm here to help guide you because I'm a projector. I'm a projector type, emotional projector, 3 parts right. On the right angle cross of contagion, I'm a pure individual. And so transmuting these shadow patterns is a good way to liberate, right? So it's liberating your consciousness from these shadow patterns. And the shadow patterns are what is unconscious within us, right? So this time that we're in right now, entering the age of Aquarius, and then we're entering into the cross of the sleeping phoenix. It's about making the unconscious conscious, right? So this is what's been driving us as a humanity, is what's buried within us. And this completely relates to this shadow pattern that I'm going to talk about for this full moon. So, and this is what my programs are about, my webinars, my readings, everything is to liberate you from your unconscious so that you can more and more of your divinity, right? And that's your authenticity, your essence, can really come forward, because this is the name of the game right now. You have to be your authentic self to navigate through these times now. Okay, so in human design, we talk about not self. You hear this if you follow human design, you hear this not self. What's the not self? That's the ego. And so I call this the willpower center. I don't call this the ego. The ego is part of the mind. It's the not self. It's the not self. And this is what's unconscious. We're not aware of it. And this comes from, it's like our avatar, if you're playing a video game, you're in a video game here on planet Earth. Well, you've got this avatar, and this is your ego. And there's many egos. So it's not just one ego. There's many egos. And this is what's unconscious. This is what wants to remain asleep, right? So this is liberating a lot of energy, a lot of divine energy that's hidden within this ego and your unconscious. Because you want to come into your power, like your real power in this lifetime. Okay? So we're bringing light into the darkness. So this is the full moon. So we're bringing light into this shadow pattern here, right? So you can see the chart, and there's the moon is in the 4.6, and then it's opposition to the sun, right? So that makes it a full moon. And so this is the shadow pattern that's being illuminated for this full moon, so that we can see it and transcend it. So you maybe let me know if you have this 4, if you've got the 4 natally. You see it's coming off here. This is called the ajna. It's not your third eye, it's your personal mind, right? Right here. So let me know if you got the 4. And it's the 6th line. You can see there, it's the 6th line. And what was I going to say about that? So we're illuminating the shadow of intolerance. So to liberate this, and we're definitely seeing this out in the world, right? This intolerance. So you can look at just the traditional definition of intolerance as a closed-minded, a bigot, a racist, whatever, right? This is what we normally think of with intolerance. But we want to look at it from a spiritual perspective. Like, where does this shadow of intolerance come from? Well, right there, you see the mind. It's in the 4, it's the mind. And right away, I just wanted to also say, look at this. This is the solar plexus. The solar plexus here, right? Here. So if this is colored in your chart, your natal chart, automatically this gives you a solar plexus authority, right? This is how important the center is. So this is our place of emotions, right? This is emotions. And so it's colored in. So that means it's going to affect everyone. This is a global, and the throat and the root, right? So there's a pressure, right? The pressure and emotions release, and right, and then going right up to the throat to the 35 here. That's the throat chakra. So what does this say? That people are going to be very, very emotional for this full moon and this building up, right? It's what, February 8th today? This energy is building, 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 building. Plus we've got the North Node and the Gate of Crises, right? There's also in the solar plexus. Look at that. They're all activated except for two, the 37 and the 55. So very emotional time. So let's look at this intolerance a little bit closely. And it's in the gift of understanding and the forgiveness. So you don't get the gift until you transmute this intolerance, right? Intolerance. So this is logic, right? Intolerance is logic. And so this is going to give you an opportunity, this full moon, to see how your mind works, right? To understand how your mind works. Okay? So logic is looking for the truth. You see, there's the 4, and on the other side is the 63, and that's truth, right? So it's looking for the truth. It's looking for the truth through the mind, and it will never, ever, 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 ever find the truth. You'll never find the truth through the mind, because truth is a frequency. It's not about thoughts, right? It's not about logic. It's not about proof, right? Because as soon as you say, well, this is true, how the mind works is the mind will go on the other side and argue the other side. No, this is the truth, right? And then it's this back and forth. And this is called the duality of the mind. And that's how the mind works. So whenever you find one thing, you find the other. So you can see it keeps you in this loop, right? A loop. So let's look at intolerance, right? Intolerance using logic, right? So where does the intolerance come from? It's going to come from the solar plexus, which means you get triggered. This is the origins of intolerance. Someone emotionally triggers you, right? Emotionally triggers you. And so there's emotion stirring in you, in the emotional body. Has nothing to do with the mind. It's just your emotions. Energy is moving. Well, then the mind kicks in. The mind interferes. Into fear I go, right? The mind interferes with these emotions. And then it wants to project, because that's what the mind does, right? The mind expands things and then it projects outward. So what it's doing is it's projecting your emotional trigger onto another person. This is the intolerance. And it's using logic to do it. So with logic can find anything that's wrong with this other person, like any silly things, like go back into their past, or, the way they dress, like just any, or what they said, 5 years ago, or what somebody else said about them. This is like gossip. This is where gossip comes from too, this shadow of intolerance. And then it's projected on the other person, right? So let's say you're doing this and you're not aware of it, so we don't want to judge people, right? Because we're illuminating this. The shadow has been remained hidden within humanity for a long time. So it's just about illuminating this and how it works, right? So you can see the programming partner. You see that there's always, if there's one, oh good, I have my mandala. So there's the mandala in human design, right? So if we go down to Leo, because the full Moon is in Leo. There's the 4. Well, the direct opposite of that is the 49 in Aquarius. See, and that makes them programming partners, these two. So they work together. They're like a tag team, right? The 4 and the 49. So that gives us more information. And so we've got intolerance, and then there's the 49 coming off, look at them, off the solar plexus, right? And this is reaction. Reaction. That's the 49. And it's revolution and rebirth, the gift of revolution and the city of rebirth, right? So this is emotionally reacting to things, right? Emotionally reacting to things. And then you've got intolerance and reaction. So you can see how this works, right? So this is about you just watching. Okay, that person triggers me, right? That person triggers me. And this is bringing the light of awareness and the power of you as a soul having human experiences. And you're the observer of your thoughts of your mind. That's the logic. But you're also observing your emotional reaction to people, right? And so it's observing. That's all you have to do is observe it, and it heals it right away, because that's what does the healing is your being. Your mind doesn't heal, right? Your emotions don't heal, but your being does. Your higher being does all the healing, right? So you're watching this dynamic, and then you don't react. You're like, okay, I'm holding in this reaction. This is about me. It's not about that other person. And I'm watching my mind trying to come up with an excuse, because the mind and the ego want you to project it all outward. And this creates intolerance. So this one goes back to our ancestors, right? So it's really important to be doing ancestral work, because these patterns get passed down, right? They get passed down from 7 generations in the past, right? And here we are. I mean, intolerance has a lot to do with karmic debt. Karmic debt. I had some questions here. Keep me on track here. Right? So there it is. Intolerance is when the mind gets tangled up with the human emotions. You want them separate, right? This is the fast way. It's just to feel, right? To feel the human emotions. And then, okay, so they're tangled up. That's the shadow. And then uses logic. The shadow uses logic to justify projecting shadow onto the other. And this has to do with ancestral karmic debt that you've come into this lifetime with, to transmute that for your ancestral line. All the places where they were intolerant of one another. And we know, you can take intolerance to the extreme, right? One form of intolerance is like, oh, I'm judgmental towards that person, but I don't really react. I don't express it to them or gossip about them. I just keep it to myself. There's that form, and then there's the collective, right? Which is basically we're going to annihilate this race of people, right? So it can go that far in terms of this ancestral karmic debt that's within us. And if you know the sacred seals, I won't get too much into this, but this is the 5th seal that's opening, right? The 5th seal, and this is forgiveness. So remember that the mind takes sides, and that's the logic. It's always going to take a side, and you'll never find peace using the mind to find peace. So this is where the logic comes in. Well, I've got to feel justified in projecting my shadow, and really I'm insecure, because this comes from a deep insecurity, right? This shadow of intolerance, and I'm trying to get rid of this insecurity through using the mind. And this is where we get into trouble. It's because, oh, well, I want my mind to not, we so bow down to our mind, and our mind is not our ruler. It's a horrible master. It's a tyrant to have your mind as your master. You're the master as the soul, and the mind is your tool. So what we end up doing when we're in ego is I want to make my mind feel at peace, My mind feels at peace. And that's what this logic's coming in, because it's looking for answers. The 4 is looking for answers. I need that answer so that I can feel at peace, where I don't have to feel this insecurity anymore. And it's a fool's game, because the mind is always changing, right? Your emotions are going up and down all the time, especially if you're defined. Your emotions are defined. And even if they're not defined, you're going up and down because you're receiving, the transmission of other people who are emotional. So what needs to feel peace? What needs to feel peace is your body. Your body's what is here and now, right? Your body wants to feel at peace, not your mind. So you want to be focusing more on your body. How can I make my body feel at peace? Well, long, deep breathing, being in the present moment, aware of what's going on in your environment. Yoga's uniting body, mind, and spirit. Things like that, things that make you feel like you, but make the body relax, right? Because that's what's here and now. So you can see how technology is not good for the body. Like a lot of technology is not good for the body whatsoever. Even the light of this screen, right? The blue light is the thing that we trust the most is the light of the moon. It's the light of the moon and the light that comes off our mother's eyes. That's what we trust the most. The body does. And then it's got this artificial light coming at it, right? So there can be this like, well, I'm using my mind. I'm on my computer. And then my body is like, no, I don't want to be here. I'm afraid, right? So it's working with the body, right? That's another, I don't know how I go on to that. Okay, so we want to free the awareness. So we want to understand how this pattern comes from. We want to free your awareness from the mind, right? So your consciousness, right? So your soul, and then the soul, the being, creates consciousness, right? And then you have this awareness. You have awareness, and you can look at it even, if you look at when you were a child and now you're an adult, right? Your awareness is expanded. You're aware of things now that you weren't aware of as a child. It's continually expanding, is your awareness. So you want to free your awareness, your consciousness, from being trapped solely in the mind. And so that means I'm no longer looking for answers. I'm not looking to my mind for peace. I'm just allowing. And then I start to see all sides. I see from everyone's perspective, not just one side. And what does this give? It gives understanding. That's the gift of understanding. And then what comes after that is forgiveness, right? And forgiveness is Christ consciousness. So this isn't Jesus, like the figure Jesus. This is a state of consciousness. This is an opening of the heart, right? An opening of the heart. That's the return of Christ. It's Christ consciousness. We all have the potential to release Christ consciousness within us, right? And it's through our heart. And what comes out of that, this is the emanation of Christ consciousness, is forgiveness. So this is it's really freeing yourself from the mind, right? And maybe you've had that experience where you're able to, especially with your earthly mother and earthly father, if you've done forgiveness work with them, and you got to that real place of understanding, right? Understanding. And that's the letting go of this one-sided, which is, they're all bad. It's all this black and white thinking, this duality of the mind. So some questions to ask yourself is, where do you find yourself intolerant of others? And are you trying to get rid of your insecurity? To look at that, places where you're trying to get rid of your insecurity. And look at this. Look at this in a global level. Right? There's so much insecurity right now. As soon as Pluto moved into that 41, we really, really started to feel this insecurity, because we're in a new timeline. We're in it. I feel like we're in it, this new timeline. And can you forgive others for closing their hearts, right? So closing their hearts, that's why people don't do bad things, is their hearts are closed, right? So can you forgive others for closing their heart? Can you forgive yourself, right, for acting from a closed heart, saying things from a closed heart? Those are some questions to ask yourself. What else did I want to say? Let's see. Let me see if there's any. Oh, good. We got lots of. I can see the comments over here. Yeah, there's a lot of intolerance, Thomas. That's true. There's a lot of intolerance in the news, because the news wants us divided. Intolerance is all about division. In fact, shadow patterns are all about division, right? The gift and the city are what bring us together in unity consciousness, and that's the solar plexus mutation, right? Yes. Another good comment by Thomas is pot, marijuana, weed. It says, yeah, you don't dream. You're not able to dream. Alcohol too. Okay. Yeah. And that's normal, CM, is to dip down into the shadow patterns. And yeah, life can, sometimes we need the experience, right? That's like, that cliche, you can't appreciate the sun unless you have the rain, right? You can't appreciate the rainbow unless you have the rain. It's the same thing with our state of consciousness. Sometimes we need to experience a low state of consciousness where you're pessimistic and what's the use, and I don't want to go on with this, and then you come up again and you come up again. So you have the experience, and then you can check it. Because with the sleeping phoenix, this cross of the sleeping phoenix that's coming in 2027, this is about taking self-responsibility, and this is what the gift of this fourth gate gene key is taking responsibility for your state of consciousness, taking responsibility for your emotions, all of that. And look where Saturn is. Saturn's in the 22. This is all about accountability, right? Saturn wants us to take accountability for our state of consciousness. So don't beat yourself up about it. This too shall pass, right? That's one of my favorite mantras, is this too shall pass. Okay, Collagen Babe's got the 4. Yeah. So you know it intimately. Okay. Right. How do we do ancestral work? Good thing. So you'll notice that my next online retreat is all on ancestral healing, this online retreat. So February 28th, March 1st and 2nd. And then there's a support meditation on the 5th, and then the final integration meditation. It's all live, is on the 9th. So keep that in mind. It's going to be open for registration tomorrow. If you're on my newsletter list, you'll be notified. So that's the way to do it. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if I have something. I may have something on my YouTube channel on ancestors, if you're unable to attend. But if you're called to do this, I would suggest coming to the live retreat. They're very intense. Okay. Yeah, that's a good way, Sandra, is I've been praying for forgiveness for those that I've hurt or harmed. That's in my prayer every morning in my sadhana. Please forgive me for any wrongdoing I've done in this lifetime or any other lifetime. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so you can feel it on the other end, right? Sandra's bringing something up interesting. You can be on the other end of this projection of intolerance, which we'll get into. I rarely remember dreams. K.A. Vacos, I would make sure you're not doing any drugs, like even pharmaceuticals. Watch what you eat before you go to bed, right? So drugs and alcohol kiss your dreams goodbye. You're not going to have any dreams. But set your intention. Like I want to, we all dream. It's just if we do we remember them or not, right? So sometimes I had a dream last night. I remembered a lot of it because I have a dream journal beside my bed. But this one, and I know I had this dream and I can't remember. And it's like the harder you try to remember it, then it goes. So it's just relaxing. I know that it will come back to me later. Okay. So let's start off with, it doesn't look like you guys can see all of that. There we go. We are going to start off with the twin flames. Where is it? Let me just go through this. Okay, 42 minutes. Scenes. Overlays. Okay. Here we go. So let me know if you're on the twin flame journey. Okay, twin flames. Where do we want to start with this? Okay, so this is for the twin flames. And we're talking about the full moon of intolerance. So it's illuminating, the full moon is illuminating the shadow pattern of intolerance. So this is when the mind gets tangled up with the human emotions and then a projection happens, right? A projection happens and it's projecting your emotional trigger onto the other. So it's interesting with the, I was just meditating on the twin flames today. And remember that we've got the runner, or we've got the chaser and the runner, right? And so I'm not going to go too much into this because if you're interested in this, you probably already know about the twin flames. There's lots of like intro videos. You can get that information out there. But this is a different approach because we're approaching it from the human design perspective. Okay. So the chaser is like the positive charge and the runner is the negative charge, right? So it's the same energy, but it's got this positive and negative charge. Okay, so what is this all about? This is about your awakening, right? This is about liberating yourself from the unconscious. So where your ego is trapped, because both parties have to go through an ego death, right? So wherever your ego is, right, there's trapped, your consciousness is trapped in this limited, right? This limited perspective of who you think you are, and that's the ego, right? So when the chaser and runner come together in the 3D realm, this ego flares up on both sides. And so one ego is saying you need to get to the runner. That's why they're called the chaser. You need to fix them. I know what's going on and this is what you have to do, right? And then the runner's ego is like running away. Anyway, I was meditating on this today and it was like if you were to, let's say the divine came to you and said, okay, your perfect partner. Who's your perfect partner? List the qualities. This isn't about like physical, superficial things like, well, they've got to have brown hair and they've got to be this height and have this kind of figure or physique, right? This is like qualities of their character, right? And so you start listing them. Well, I want somebody who's dishonest, right? I want somebody who's manipulative, right? I want somebody who's emotionally immature, right? I want somebody who's like non-communicative. I really want somebody who's spiritually lazy. I think that's the most important one. I want somebody who's spiritually lazy. I want somebody who's, did I say non-communicative, right? No, you wouldn't ask for these qualities, would you, right? Like no sane person would want this. So, but then, and then let's say the chaser, on the chaser side, well, we'll go into the chaser side in a second here, right? But here's the thing, this is soul. This is a soul relationship, a soul connection. So here you've got this like, you know, with the twin flame connection, it's like unconditional love for your twin. Now, if we look for, despite all of this, all of these qualities, right? This is what makes it crazy making, because you wouldn't pick this in a million years, this kind of person with these qualities, right? So, so it's soul love because it's energy, right? It's all about the energy. So, but if you look at ego love, which we're leaving behind, this is the bargain, tribal consciousness. Ego love is like, okay, why do you love this person? And ego love, this is most people are in this. They're in ego love. Well, they're kind and they're generous and, right? They're always there for me and they support me when I'm feeling down and blah, blah, blah. And it's all about, you know, and that's normal, right? That's ego love. Ego love is what builds me up, builds up my ego, supports me, because that's tribal consciousness, because it's a bargain. You do this for me, I do this for you, right? And we're committed to one another. But as soon as that ego stops getting what it needs, that's when this relationship starts to fall apart, because most of it's not built on soul, right? So with the ego love, there's always a reason. There's a reason why I love this other person. But if you ask a twin flame, well, what do you love about your twin flame? You're like, I don't know. I can't come up with any reasons, actually, right? I just love them. It's just there. This unconditional love is just there. So it ties you. It's like it's a different rule book. If this were ego love, you would toss this person aside unless you had some kind of trauma that you had to work through, right? Toss them out the door. But with the soul relationship, it's like you're permanently tied. So it's really interesting. I've been meditating on the timeline, right? These timelines. And well, what happens if one twin is choosing, I'm going forward with love and expansion, and I'm moving forward in my self-realization. What happens to the other twin that seems to be choosing fear? Seems to be choosing the Maya, seems to be choosing their ego. What happens with this timeline, right? Well, you've got to look at it like an orbit. So you're the planet, and then you've got your twin is orbiting around you all the time, right? Is orbiting. And sometimes they're orbiting really far out in another galaxy. But you're always connected to your twin. So sometimes they're orbiting close. Sometimes they're orbiting really, really far away. So with the twin, the chaser, that's who I'm talking to, is you need to keep your focus on you, right? On you. And the other thing, you know, because you could look at this as intolerance, but look at it like intolerance is tolerating things that are below you, right? So if you have qualities of honesty, like honesty is really important to you, communication is really important to you, like let's say these things are important to you, then you don't play the game. The ego may say, well, you have to play the game with the twin. You have to become not self, because that's what you're doing. Honesty and communication, these are virtues that come from your soul. They're not coming from your ego. The ego is like honest if it's trying to get something, trying to use another person. So you've got to watch this, and this is the not self. Well, I've got to lower my bar to be with my twin. I've got to just put up with this. I just have to tolerate it, which is this shadow of intolerance in a sense, right? So, to keep the bar up, to maintain your integrity, especially now, Chaser. Maintain your integrity and let the twin come up to you, right? The twin's down here in vibration, they have to reach you, right? So this is how it works. The chaser has to go inside, always, 100%, always has to focus on the self. And the other twin, the runner, is actually going through experiences to break down the ego that's connected to their mind and the Maya. They're more connected to the mind than the chaser, so that they can even be in your orbit, so that they can even sit in the same space as you. They have to go through things like this because otherwise it's so uncomfortable, right? So then you've got the runner. Well, why can't they just be less serious, right? Why can't they be more fun? Why do they have to be so intense? Why are they so demanding of me, right? Why can't they just chill out, right? Why do they make me feel so uncomfortable? They make me feel like I'm not good enough, right? I'm not good enough. It's never good enough for them. I don't feel good about myself. I'd rather be with my friends who are also asleep, right? They're also asleep and unconscious, and they're not going to make me feel like I'm not good enough. They're not going to challenge me, right? They're not going to challenge me, because this is what the chaser does to the runner. It's like they're showing the runner their shadows. They know, they can see the potential in the runner, and they can see that they're not rising up. So instead of focusing on the runner and what they should or shouldn't be doing, it's focus on yourself and then keep that bar high, right? And then go into this space of like understanding, right? So you've the same energy. This is the divine's cruel trick here. So the same energy, positive, negative, but you both have had different experiences in your lifetime, and you both have had different ego identities that have formed, right? So it's understanding that they're going through their own process. They're going through their own process. Yeah. And forgiveness, and bring forgiveness to that, which will be easy when you go into this place of understanding. Like not trying to, okay, let me just do a card. Yeah. Yes, and the twin can also show you, they're going to show you your ego too. Let's not forget about the chaser's ego. They're going to show you where your ego is, right? Too. The runner. Just by being themselves. So it may be the ego that wants to fix, right? The ego that wants to be the white knight, right? The ego that wants to have the focus all on the runner and not on yourself, right? So it's an opportunity for deep healing. Okay. Let me just pick a card for the, see if we can go a little bit deeper with this dynamic. Okay. Okay. So let's do an ego card for the chaser. Let's go an ego card for the runner. Okay. Okay. Okay, so what's the guidance for the chaser? Okay, what's the guidance for the runner? Okay. Okay, interesting. Okay. So also keep in mind with the runner-chaser dynamic, with the shadow of intolerance. So it's looking for flaws, we can say. Intolerance is looking for flaws, but it's looking for a logical reason to separate from the twin, too, to also keep that in mind. And so you need to accept this, you can never ever disconnect from your twin. Even if you're living on different sides of the planet, you're always connected, right? So another way, if we want to go deeper too into shadow work, is like, okay, where am I intolerant of my twin? And then you want to look, okay, am I projecting something of myself? Am I projecting my shadow on my twin? To look at it like that too. Yeah. Anyway, it's very complex, this relationship, and I could probably spend hours and hours talking about it. Okay, and there's more stuff coming. So let's look at the chaser. So there's the ego card. It's called self-attack. So this is about moving forward now, right? It's moving forward. 2025 is all about moving forward on your spiritual journey. So what can happen for the chaser, a warning, is that there can be some patterns that come up, some subconscious patterns. So there's something called samskaras in yogic technology, and these are patterns, like programs in your subconscious mind that follow you lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So if you get too close, right, if you're getting too close to your power, then these subconscious patterns get released. They get released. And this is an ego. You can call it an ego attack, right? An ego attack. And so it's working through the subconscious mind, right? So you're not aware of this. This is, right? This is about making the unconscious conscious now, 2025 and onward, the darkness into the light. So what can happen is there can be accidents, right? There can be accidents, things going wrong in your life. Like there's like this invisible wall. It can seem like there's an invisible wall, something that's stopping you. And so, but it's going back to these subconscious patterns, right? So this is what you can create. You can create accidents and things going wrong, and not you, but your ego. Your ego can create these things, and it's in order to stop you, right? In order to stop you when you're moving forward, right? So to put you into fear, basically, right? And to stay in the fear, because the ego is made up of fear. So again, right? This is about your being, and this is about being aware. You're aware of this dynamic. Oh, look at this. This is a pattern. Whenever I'm moving forward in my life, this happens. This happens. And then I stop. I get afraid. Well, now I'm just going to be aware of it. I'm just aware of it. And the guidance is the King of Cups. And that's to stay in your heart, right? To stay in your heart. So it's kind of like in the ego is like a snake, but it's got no teeth, right? It's got no teeth. It scares you. All the ego can do is scare you, but it's got no power over you, the being, right? So it can scare you. So it's like the snake without the teeth. It can't hurt you. It can't harm you. So you don't want to let this stop you. Things going wrong in my life. Okay, there's some kind of pattern that I'm playing out now, but it's not going to stop me, right? You're going to be committed, because look at the 4. This is interesting right here. I'm on something. So there's the 4, right? There's the full moon, and it's the 4.6. And so it goes from point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that means that it's looking to the next one. And what's the next one? Is 29. It's the 29. And there's the 29. And this is commitment, right? This is commitment. This is like saying yes to life. It's saying yes to your next experience, right? So to me, this is about, I'm not letting this stop me. I'm not letting these scare tactics from the ego stop me. I'm moving forward. I'm moving forward in my life. I'm choosing this higher timeline. I'm choosing to be my authentic self in this lifetime. I'm choosing liberation. I'm not choosing fear, right? I'm not choosing what my ancestors chose. I'm choosing something different, right? So this full moon will show you, it's going to illuminate any of these dynamics for the chaser. This self-attack, it's called self-attack, and this is the ego trying to attack you. But again, it's like the snake with no teeth. It's to scare you. So the King of Cups says to have compassion. So have compassion for yourself, right? Compassion for yourself. And wise, this is a balance of your heart and head. Right? Balance of heart and head. So to me, because it's the 4, this is actually bowing your mind to your heart, right? Bowing your mind to your heart. Let your mind do its thing. Your mind is there for play, communication, and research. It's not about making your decisions. You're freeing up your mind, and you start thinking with your heart. That's what the King of Cups is saying. And being devoted, right? Oh, isn't that interesting? The 29, so the 29 shadow, this is the next one, is a half-heartedness, right? Half-heartedness, 1 foot out. This is the lukewarm that I talked about. It's being lukewarm, not making a choice, wanting to postpone the choice, right? And then the gift is commitment. And then the city, the divine gift, is devotion. That's the King of Cups, right? Being devoted to your heart. My heart is taking me here, right? I'm committed to it. I don't know where my heart's going to take me. I have no logical reasons, right? With the 4, I'm just moving forward. Okay, so that's the chaser, and then the runner's got the Who's Your Daddy, which is all about choice. So the runner is also about choice, and this is choosing ego or soul. So this is the runner. And this is the dark night of the soul for the runners, dark night of the soul. And this is when we come face to face with our ego, and we have to take a leap of faith to the soul. And then the ended card. So this is like literally the dark night of the soul, these 2 cards together. So this could be the twin, the runner, going through a huge dark night of the soul. And as soon as if you're really in the dark night of the soul, then the last trump card that comes out with the ego, and I don't mean to be morbid, but I want to tell you the truth, is like, just end it. Just end it. Right? Check out. Don't be here on the planet anymore. This will get rid of your suffering, is to end it. And that's when you know you're really close to your power and you're really close to the light, is when, because that's the last thing that the ego has up its sleeve, is like death, threatens death, right? And it means that the runner is really, really close to a breakthrough here. And you as a chaser, I mean, the best thing you can do is just send out your prayers, right? You can't do this ego death for your twin. They have to go through it themselves. And then the guidance is the King of Wands and the Lovers, and the Lovers card. So we could look at this as like going through some kind of unity within themselves, right? So yes, this is a divine relationship coming together For sure, it could be about you and them, but it's all like, let's bring it back to the self. It's about a unity within them, right? This is the balance and unity of their masculine and feminine energy, and it's opening the heart, opening up the heart. And then the King of Wands is confidence, and it's spiritual, right? It's the Wands. It's a very spiritual card. This is vision, big picture, right? Daring to make the leap. So that's interesting for this full moon, for the runners. Anything else here? I would add one more thing for the chasers. That forgiveness, right? Remember, we're leaving the age of Pisces. The age of Pisces was ushered in by Jesus, and that was his greatest teaching, was forgiveness. So I like to look at it like this. It's like, I forgive my twin for showing me my shadow, for showing me my ego. I forgive them that they've played this role for me, right? To open your heart, keep your heart open to your twin. Okay. Okay, I just want to read some comments before and cleanse my palate here. Hopefully that made some sense. I feel like I was all over the place. You know, I have sometimes I have like, I grab my slides, I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. I'm 3 parts right, so I'm hoping that my prayer is that was clear, that message. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. To recognize, as the chaser, you're the more spiritually evolved one, but that doesn't mean that you're superior, right? Or better. It's just the role that you're playing. And to have more compassion, yeah. And that, of course, extends to yourself, right? Having compassion for yourself. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Worried about Super Bowl. Everything that's happening in the world is perfect, Susan. I know that can be horrible to say, but it's true. This is the experience we're having. This is the everybody's going through their unique experience to awaken. That's the end game, is to awaken. Okay. Yeah. Yes. And what I'm trying to point out here, just to be more clear, is with intolerance, to love someone, right? To love someone doesn't mean that you have to, love every single trait, like, especially if it's coming from ego and not self. Right? Yes, you can love somebody 100% unconditionally, because that's the twin flames are teaching us to love someone 100%, but also not to put up with this ego, not self, right? So it's like, how does that, if you look at your twin, it's like, how does their not self affect you, right? If you know that they don't, if maybe they bail on their commitments, like, let's use an example here. They bail on their commitments, right? Are you going to put up with this? Well, they always bail on their commitments. I'm supposed to love them 100%, so I'm supposed to put up with this. Meanwhile, you're angry and you're burying that. That's called spiritual leapfrog. I want to be here in forgiveness and understanding, but I don't want to deal with the shadow, right? So the shadow starts to rise up. You do your emotional work. I'm angry, right? I feel like this person, my twin, is overstepping my boundaries and not respecting me or valuing my time and energy. You feel the emotions of that, and then you're clear, right? You're not clear if you have anger, then you're in turbulence. That's the 36. You're in turbulence. You don't have clear perspective. Then when you're clear, you've dealt with your own emotional stuff, then you can say, if you continue to bail on the commitments, right? Bail on these commitments, I won't be able to commit to you in this way. You need to change your behavior, basically, right? You need to value my time and energy, right? And then you pull back. So what you're doing, and especially if you're a parent, you know this. If you continue this action, this behavior, then these are the consequences. And you have to follow through on the consequences. Because your twin may be teaching you in their own crazy way through not self is respect. Teaching you to respect yourself, to value yourself, right? And the lesson could be to stand up for yourself. You know, here I love this person unconditionally, but I love myself more. I love myself more, right? So it could be like that. So this does not mean unconditional love for all their behaviors, right? Their negative behaviors, not self behaviors or whatever. Okay. I feel like that had to be added. Okay. Oh, I didn't put my coffee up. There we go. Okay. So, what are we going to do next? Astrology. Let's do astrology. Okay. So I got my wheel here. Yeah, don't put up with the not self-ego. Okay. Because that's called enabling 101. Okay. So we've got Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising. We're talking about the full moon in the shadow of intolerance. Right here, that's the 4th gate, right there. Right there. And let's see where it is in your chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the 5th house. So if you're a parent, mom or dad, or you're in charge of some child, you got to watch this. The shadow of intolerance could be coming up for you. So intolerant of your child. And basically it's triggering, getting triggered, right? So maybe you feel a loss of control. A loss of control of your child. Maybe your child is sassing you, talking back to you, right? Not respecting you. Then so the trigger's there, and you're a highly evolved spiritual person, Aries, right? And so the shadow of intolerance can kick in, where the mind gets tangled up with the human emotions, right? So it's using logic and projecting it on to the child. Or this could also be a love interest too, right? This could be about your own self-expression, your own creativity if you're an artist too, to watch this. And what I would say here is forgiveness. Let's go right to the touchdown. So maybe there's some forgiveness work to do, and the 5th house matters. So this is a love partner, somebody that was intolerant of you when you were a child. And this is about forgiving others for closing their hearts. This is what people do, They do bad things. They say bad things just because when their heart is closed. Okay. What else do I want to say about this? And understanding and forgiveness. And also forgiving yourself, right? Forgiving yourself. Okay. Just a sec. I feel like right here. So creativity, children, hobbies, pleasure, romance. Yeah, you got pleasure. So I would look at it too, because this is your pleasure house, the 5th house, Aries. So what gives you pleasure is, are you intolerant of yourself, right? Are you judging yourself for the ways that you instinctively, because Aries is very instinctual, gain pleasure in the 5th house? Are you intolerant of that, right? Were your upbringing, right? In your upbringing, was there intolerance in your house? Judging, right? Judging you, that you're not good enough, whatever it is, right? So I would look at that. Okay. Let's go to Taurus. So let's go Taurus. Taurus, sun, moon, or rising. Did it go on here? There we go. Taurus, sun, moon, or rising. So Taurus. Okay. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the shadow of intolerance is playing out in your 4th house. And so that's mother. That's your home. Let me go here. Okay, Michael. Just a sec. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. There we go. So Taurus, sun, moon, or rising. So the full moon is in your 4th house. We're talking about the shadow of intolerance. So you want to look at mother. Mother. And your mother may have passed on, so maybe it's a mother type figure in your life too. Is to bring understanding and forgiveness. So you want to look at are you intolerant? Maybe you're intolerant of mothers in general, right? And a lot of people are judgy towards mothers, actually. Everybody and their dog's grandmother has an opinion on who's a good mother and what they should or shouldn't be doing, you know, just to watch this if you're doing this yourself. And you've got reaction coming from your 10th house, right? So that's the... So there's so many 4s here. So this is the 4th gate coming off the mind Taurus, see? And then the 10th house is the 49, and that's the 49 here, and that's in your 10th house. So this is the shadow of reaction, and these two work together, right? So you may be experiencing reaction, getting reactive, emotionally reactive and triggered in your 10th house matters. And that's like your career. It's also your public standing. Okay. And then bringing intolerance here to the 4th house, your house of home. And your emotions, right? So you may be intolerant of your emotions, Taurus. Why do I have to deal with these emotions? You know? Okay. It's also showing that there's a rebirth happening too in your 10th house, because Aquarius is, Pluto's in Aquarius in your 10th house there. Okay, let's see here. Intolerance in the 4th house. So this is your early childhood. Yeah, that's what it is. So mother could have been intolerant towards you, right? Your earthly mother could have been intolerant towards you. So now you understand, Taurus, where this intolerance comes from, right? This is when the mind gets tangled up with the human emotions, you know? And go to your human design chart. We'll give you a lot of information, right? Say you've got the 39th gate, right? Or you've got the whole channel of emoting. You start to understand your effect on your mother, right? So what's it like? You use this as an example. The 3955, it provokes through your aura, right? The other, right? So this could have been you could have been very provocative towards your mother, and it's energy. It's just energy, right? To see if she's the right spirit for you, and maybe she wasn't the right spirit for you, right? Maybe her karma was just about bringing you in, right? So there's the intolerance, right? Your mother's getting triggered. then her mind gets tangled up with the human emotions, and then she's projecting her shadow onto you using logic, right? And it's ancestral. This fourth gate is very, very ancestral. Yeah. So this is how we understand, right? We understand. It's like, oh, I understand now how this dynamic was working with my mother. And this is why we had this dynamic together. Instead of she was so bad and she never loved me, right? You start to have this understanding. And then when you have the understanding, when you freed your mind from the shadow, that you're not just taking this is the side and this is my story, then the forgiveness, the energy of forgiveness can come, right? You'll be able to forgive your mother. Yeah. So that's where I would look for this full moon. And remember, it's going to be illuminating. It's the full moon is illuminating this dynamic so that you can let go of the shadow of intolerance, because you're going to project that onto other people that remind you of your mother. That's how it works. Okay. Okay. So let's go for I got to slow down here. Gemini. Gemini, sun, moon, or rising. And let's see. So Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, we're talking about the full moon and the shadow of intolerance. That's the 4. The gift of understanding and in the city. This is the divine gift of forgiveness. Okay, and where is it going to play out for you, Gemini? 1, 2, 3. Third house. Well, this is going to be your siblings, right? Your bro or your sister, or both. It can play out that way for Geminis. It can play out with your thinking and your communication, right? Or communication. This could have been about your early education, right? Your school, your early school years here. This shadow of intolerance, right? So a lot of this work to get to the cross of the sleeping phoenix is really about letting go of the past, right? And so this full moon is going to illuminate what's unconscious. And what's unconscious is the shadow of intolerance. So you may or may not have this natally, but we're all connected to these 64 archetypes, right? So this is a global pattern, right? So if you look at your thinking, you want to look right at your thinking, and you want to be aware of what's going on inside you. Well, who am I intolerant of, right? Who am I intolerant of? Am I intolerant of my brothers and sisters? Am I intolerant of my neighbors, right? Am I intolerant of my environment, whoever happens to be in my environment, right? Does my thinking go there, right? Like, I don't like this person. I don't like that about them. I don't want them near me, whatever it is. Well, you want to bring it back inside, and then you want to get to the human emotions, right? Because the human emotions come first. The programming partner of the 4 is the 49. That's reaction, right? Solar plexus reaction. So the human emotions come first, and then the logical mind comes and hijacks the emotions and creates a story, right? Because you got triggered by this person for some reason or not. And this is where intolerance comes in. So it's about being aware. It's about taking accountability. Saturn in the 22, taking accountability, right, for your emotional state. So I would look at that first. And then when you do that, this is how easy it is. As soon as you do that, you take the power away from the mind and you let the emotions just be, and then they start to move and transmute. Then you're freed, right? Your awareness is freed from the mind, and then understanding comes. Oh, I'm understanding their point of view. I'm understanding my point of view. And then here comes forgiveness. Here comes forgiveness. So you have the potential to unlock this pattern, Gemini. Very, very very, very positive for all of us. And when at least one other person stops projecting their shadow on other people, it's a good thing. That means you're part of the solution. Okay, that's Gemini. And let's go for Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Right here. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Okay, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. We're talking about the full moon in the 4th gate. This is the shadow of intolerance. It's the gift of understanding, and it's the city of forgiveness. So let's see where that's happening for you. It's happening in your 2nd house. Right? So right away, this is connected to your sense of self-value. It's about your money. It's about your material life, right? So this is going to bring up this intolerance in you here. Okay, so let's bring it back to the emotional, right? Because it's the 49, right? So reaction. So reaction. An emotional reaction. Right? It's just emotions start moving. They start surfacing. Maybe they're coming from ancestral, right? This is ancestral karmic debt. That's the 4, right? Ancestral karmic debt starts to release, and then the mind comes in with logic. Well, it's because of my employer, right, that I'm feeling this way. It's because of that other person that I'm feeling this way, right? But really what's underneath all of this is your low self-value, right? Here, so it's conflated with that. So then it's just Cancer. It's just about seeing this dynamic. It's watching, it's observing in a detached way. Oh, I'm watching the thoughts of my mind. Look at my mind go straight to blame. I want to blame other people for how I'm feeling, right? And this is disentangling the mind. Right? The shadow is the mind is tangled up with the human emotions. Okay, so I'm watching the thoughts of the mind, and then I'm watching my emotions. Right? So I'm not letting the mind get in there and hijack, create a story about how I'm feeling. And then this is when you freed your awareness from your mind, and then understanding comes. Oh, I understand their point of view and this point of view, and I understand why this is happening to me. And then forgiveness comes, right? Forgiveness for the other person you've been blaming, and then forgiveness for yourself, right? For projecting your shadows onto other people. So, so you have this potential to illuminate this. And remember, it's karmic, and it goes back to the ancestry, your ancestry. Okay. That is Cancer. And then Leo. Let's go Leo, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Okay. Do this. Yeah. Okay, so this is Leo, Sun, Moon, or Rising. And we're talking about the moon, right? And the moon is in Leo, the sign of Leo. But it's in the shadow of intolerance, the gift of understanding, and the city of forgiveness. And there you see it. It's coming off the 4 here. Okay? So it's in your 1st house. Right? So this is about you. This is about you. So you've got to look where you're intolerant. Right? Intolerant of your body, your appearance too. How you show up in the world. Right? Could be intolerant of that. I don't know why that's coming to me. Okay, so intolerance, we're talking not self, right? This is the shadow. The shadow is always connected to not self. And that's your ego, right? That's your ego. So the thing is, with the ego, because who you really are is being. You're a being, all right? A soul, right? That's who you really are here. And then you create these not selves, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of not selves. And these are called the ego. So the intolerance is like, right? It's trying to use the mind for peace and security. I want to feel secure. I want to keep this mind happy. And you're not going to feel secure. Never, ever, ever. The mind is never secure because the mind is always fluctuating and your not self is always fluctuating. And you may notice that you're different with different people, right? If you're not your authentic self, then you're different, right? And that means that there's all these avatars, you can call them. And these are these ego identities that come up, right? So there can be intolerance. There can be intolerance of that. Maybe you're experiencing intolerance from other people too with this. And this is using logic to project shadow onto the other. So maybe you're having an emotional reaction, or a person is having an emotional reaction to you, right? They're intolerant of you. And this is when you can't take it personally. Because you don't know what ego is that person. Have you ever heard of that? Like, oh, I'm going to wait until it's a good time to bring this up with this person. What are you really saying there? I'm waiting for the right time. Are you? Or are you waiting for the right ego to come up? Right? I'm waiting for the right ego to surface in that person. That ego that I know that will be favorable towards me. Right? This is how not self works in our world. Right? Not self is that people have so many not selves and they don't even realize it. Right? So this is going to be illuminated for you, that you have to love yourself. And if any zodiac sign can do that and show that and embody that for the rest of the zodiacs, is Leo, right? Is that self-love. We're in this Pluto Aquarius, right? We have to always remember that Leo is on the other side, right? Leo is like, how do I fit in with the collective? How do I fit with the collective and then remain as myself, right? Remain myself, my true self, my authentic self within the collective. This is going to be a dilemma for all of us, but Leo is kind of leading the way, right? Here. So for you, it's about not letting your mind get tangled up with human emotions. So around your body, let's look at that, right? Around your body. Not letting the mind hijack your emotional reaction here, and then freeing it up, and then understanding comes, and then of course forgiveness here. And again, to look at, this comes from your ancestral line, this intolerance of your physical form, of your physical body. Okay, so this full moon, like I said with the other types, it's really about illuminating. It's illuminating what's unconscious and making it conscious, bringing it into the light, right? So lots of forgiveness. You want to do that this full moon, forgiving yourself, right? Fully 100% forgiving yourself. And not let the mind create stories about who you are and who you should be, and you shouldn't do that, and you shouldn't behave this way, you shouldn't show up the world like this. It's like to let all that go as a Leo. Okay. So let's go Virgo. Oh, Virgo. I'm surprised that the 4 is Leo and not Virgo. It's got a Virgo flavor to it here. Okay, so this is about the full moon in the 4th gate, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. And that is taking place in your 12th house. Oh, this is really good. Yeah. So this is a completion, the 12th house, and it's definitely ancestral. Definitely ancestral. The 12th house is where our ancestors are. We can't really see inside there. This is in between the veil, right? The veil. The veil's the thinnest in the 12th house. And intolerance can come from an ancestral karmic debt, right? So I would look at this as like definitely as an ancestral pattern, and maybe look at where your ancestors, so start off with your mother, your father, and then your grandparents and your great-grandparents, where there's been intolerance, right, in your family line. Was it intolerance of women? Like it could be like sexism or racism or xenophobia, whatever it is, right? To look at that, because what this full moon is going to illuminate this shadow pattern for you so that you can see it. So you're not going to let your mind get tangled up with your emotions about it. It's just like, I'm going to let it be seen. And you really watch your sleep and your dreams. Something may be illuminated there for you. And then once this happens, then you have understanding and forgiveness here. So big for Virgo is a big opportunity to go into some deep, deep forgiveness work. And so I would work on forgiving your ancestors, right? Because this karmic debt gets passed on. This doesn't disappear. It goes down the family line. So you want to stop it. Right? 7 generations in the past, you want to stop it so it doesn't continue on. Okay. That's Virgo. And then Libra. Libra, sun, moon, or rising. And this is going to be in the 11th house. So this is the full moon in the 4th gate. And the shadow of intolerance, gift of understanding, city of forgiveness. Okay, and for Libras. And this is in the 11th house. So I would look at your friendships, right? Look at your friends where you're intolerant. Where do you find yourself intolerant of your friends or the groups of people that you belong to? So where are you you're getting tangled. You're getting, the shadow of intolerance is when your mind gets tangled up with your human emotions. So it's reacting, right? Emotionally reacting to someone in your friend group, right? Getting emotionally triggered. So before, you want to stop this at the pass. You don't want the mind to kick in. And the mind uses logic and tries to find the proof of why you feel emotionally triggered, right? And it's always going to find the proof, always. So this full moon is about illuminating this pattern for you in terms of your friendship, right? So instead of like continuing being intolerant of certain people in your friendship group, it's like explore this a little bit more. Where's this intolerance coming from? So that you can liberate, right? Your consciousness from a not self ego, right? The shadow of intolerance. And then you can bring understanding and forgiveness to yourself and your friends. Okay, so that's Libra. And then Scorpio. Scorpio, sun, moon, or rising. So we're talking about the full moon and the 4th gate coming off the mind there, Scorpio. Okay. And it's the shadow of intolerance. It's the gift of understanding. And it's the city of forgiveness. And this is in your 10th house. So this is your social standing. It's your reputation. Right? Your reputation. So I would look at, and remember the shadow of intolerance is when your mind gets tangled up with your human emotions. So you get triggered, right? Around 10th house stuff. This would be like your career too. Could be a boss or somebody who plays the boss in your life. They don't necessarily have to be your boss. Kind of like a father type figure, someone you put in a position of authority, 10th house, right? So intolerance is you get triggered, and then the mind hijacks the emotions, because that's all it is like, okay, emotions are moving, but then the mind goes in there and creates a story about it, right? So it uses logic. It uses the logical mind, and the logical mind will always find proof to justify projecting your shadow onto the other person, right? So this is what you do. And the thing is, right, the 4 is looking for the 63, which is truth. And you're never going to find the truth with the mind. Never, 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 because it's duality. The mind is dualistic. So that means where you find one thing, you're going to find the other. So you can prove this one thing over here, but you can also prove this completely opposite thing over there. And then you're back and forth and you're caught in the shadow, right? So this is about taking responsibility, right? The gift and the city are about taking responsibility for your emotions and how you're feeling and your state of consciousness, and freeing your mind, right? Freeing the awareness from your mind, not letting your mind make decisions and determining what's true or not. That's what the mind's not created for that. It's created for play, research, and communication. And then once you do that, then understanding is released. You're able to see all these different sides around the 10th house, and then automatically forgiveness comes. Forgiveness for yourself and forgiveness for others. Okay, that's what I would look at for Scorpio. And then Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising. This is going to be in your 9th house, right? Yeah. It's going to be in your 9th house. Right? And then we're looking at the moon is in the 4th gate. So this is the shadow of intolerance, the gift of understanding, the city of forgiveness for Sagittarius. Intolerance here. So this could definitely can represent your father, right? Right here, the 9th house. This is about your belief system. Very important, because the 9th house is typically ruled by Sagittarius, the 9th house, right? It's very optimistic. It's your belief system. It's your elevated point of view. It can be religion, right? And some religions have been totally known for intolerance, right? It's my God's the only God. Your God's not. I'm intolerant of your belief system. So I would look at this. Are you intolerant of other people's belief systems, Sagittarius? If they have a different belief system than you, right? So maybe you get triggered. Right? So this is what the shadow of intolerance is the mind gets tangled up with human emotions. I'm triggered that that person doesn't have the same belief system as me. Well, right there's the trigger, and then the intolerance comes when you use your logical mind. And it's, well, I have the proof. My sacred scriptures are older than your sacred scriptures. Right? So you go out there and you find the logical mind will always find the proof to justify projecting the shadow onto the other. So I would let, Sagittarius, I would really just free your awareness from your mind, that your mind will never find the truth. The absolute truth, the mind will never find the truth. And this is about you just getting emotionally triggered. So deal with the emotions, free up the mind, and the mind will free up. Right? And then understanding is where you see I can see how they have that belief system. Oh, I can see this. I can see that. It widens your perspective, right? 9th house. Widens your perspective on things, and then forgiveness comes. So I'd look at that. Okay, and then Capricorn, right? And then Capricorn. 16. Okay. Capricorn's going to be the 8th house. The 8th house. So intolerance with people that you share resources with. This could be a marriage partner, too. Right? So where are you intolerant of your marriage partner? So these are deep triggers, 8th house. Right? 8th house. This is like a potential for deep, deep healing around the shadow of intolerance, right? So I would look at that like, okay, my partner, my marriage partner is triggering my emotions, and then the mind is coming and getting entangled with these emotions, and then this is where the logic comes in, and this is why I have the proof, right? So there's the mind coming in. I got the receipts. I got them right here, Capricorn. This is why, right? This is why I'm intolerant of you. You do this, you do that, and here's the proof, right? And this isn't the truth, right? It's not the truth. Because what's happening, Capricorn, is the mind is looking for security. You're getting triggered because you're insecure. You feel insecure. But the mind is like, it happens so fast because we're talking about the unconscious. Right? So it's coming in so fast with proof to get rid of this insecurity, right? So that's where the intolerance comes from. So watch this with your partner and then retrace the steps. How did I get into this space of intolerance? Take a moment to reflect, right? A quiet moment to reflect. Get your journal out, go into meditation. It's like, oh, rewind the steps. Oh, I got triggered, right? I was triggered. I had an emotional reaction. I felt insecure, right? 8th house can be about money, other people's money, right? And then my mind and ego, it was so fast that I'm projecting this shadow onto my partner, right? My marriage partner. So then you let it go, right? You let it go. You don't let the mind get entangled with your emotions. You just feel your emotions and you separate them from the mind. These two, this logical mind and your emotions are separate. And then you get to understanding and then forgiveness. And then you see all the points of view. Oh, I see what my partner was doing there. Oh, I see what I was doing there. And I see, I have a greater point of view. And then the forgiveness comes, right? And then you've transmuted the shadow of intolerance. Okay. And then let's go for Aquarius. Aquarius. I think my flow is definitely on Fridays. Definitely on Fridays. So I got to experience it, having the live stream on a Saturday. I just feel more, maybe it's because it's ruled by Venus or something. I don't know. Okay, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Well, that's going to be your 7th house. Okay. So this could be you, intolerant, again. So this can be your marriage partner for sure. 7th house. But it could be like a business partner too. Could be it's the other, right? It could be another person, but it's usually someone that you have a contract with. So this is the full moon in the shadow of intolerance, the gift of understanding, the city of forgiveness, right? So intolerant of your marriage partner, your business partner, or another person. Could be your clients too, right? Intolerance there. So this is getting triggered. So remember, the full moon is about illuminating something, a pattern that's unconscious is coming into the light. And it's like, oh, why am I intolerant of these people? Write the people down. It's like, right? It's really difficult for me to accept them, to understand them, right? Because this is when the mind gets tangled up with your trigger. And then you create a story, and intolerance will use logic, will always find the proof to justify projecting your shadow onto others. And the shadow here, always, every shadow pattern is based in fear. And this is like a deep, deep insecurity, right? A deep, deep insecurity that's getting triggered, right? So this is when you let go, right? You let go. You don't let the mind get in there and hijack. Okay, I'm triggered. I caught it. I'm triggered. I'm pulling back. I'm not listening to my mind. I'm not going to listen to that story. I'm aware. And then it starts to free, right? The emotions start to free. And then what comes is understanding and forgiveness, right? There. Okay. And let's do Pisces. Pisces. So Pisces, sun, moon, or rising. We're talking about the full moon and the gate of, right here, in the shadow of intolerance here. It's the gate of youthful folly, it's called. Because it's a folly. Because it's looking for answers, right? It's looking for answers. That's what this 4 is all about. I'm looking for answers to get rid of my insecurity. So remember, the full moon is illuminating, right? Illuminating the shadow pattern to release your consciousness that's trapped in the shadow of intolerance, right? So this is going to take place in your 6th house, right? Yeah, 6th house. Your 6th house. So this could be co-workers. Could be co-workers. It could be employees if you're an employer. People that work for you your health too. Your health there. So maybe you have some intolerance around your health, or co-workers or your employees. So you got to bring it back to I got triggered. I got emotionally poked, right? And then what intolerance is when the mind, the logical mind, gets in and gets entangled with these human emotions, and then you use logic to justify projecting your shadow onto the other. It's like, oh, that's not me. That has nothing to do with me. That's just the other person. So what you do here is you stop this in its tracks, and this takes awareness, right? It takes presence. I'm going to be present in my life. I'm going to be aware. I'm committing to be awake, right? Awake in my life, right? I'm watching my emotions. I'm watching my thoughts. I'm taking complete responsibility. And then you can stop it before it gets to intolerance. And say it happened, because we fall off the horse sometimes, and then it's like to reflect on it. How did this happen? Right? So it's just about taking responsibility for your emotions and your triggers before the mind can get in there, because the mind will always find something, the logical mind will always find something to blame the other person of why you're feeling this way. And that's what intolerance is. And it's ancestral, Pisces, right? So, and Pisces understands this, right? And you got such the party in the first house right now. Yeah. So, and if any of the signs, I think the Pisces can handle this, can nip this in the bud. And then what happens is understanding and forgiveness come. So you're able to understand all these points of view, and then forgiveness comes. You can forgive your coworkers or your employees or your health, even your body's health. Yeah. It's all about love, right? Okay. So there's the sign. Okay. And then we'll go to the types here. Rip Along here found the channel through Sinead O'Connor. She was a Sagittarius rising, right? She looks like a Sagittarius rising. She's got that long face, or had that long face. Okay. 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 So we're off to human design now. And I got the generator up, right? The Pisces. Pisces down. Okay. Okay. So, generators, this is for the full moon and the shadow of intolerance, the gift of understanding, and the city of forgiveness. So be sure to look at your astrology, and if you're a twin flame too. Okay. So let's do a card for the generators. So this is a real time to be doing your inner work, generator. And your inner work is to let go of not self. Right? So it's not about finding out who you are. It's about just releasing who you're not. Who you're not. And that's the not self. So this full moon's a great, you can use this tool. Okay. So what do we got for the generators? What do we have for the generators? What do we got for the generators? Okay. Do we have, let's see if we have some. Let's see. Let's see the. What's the guidance for the generator? Okay, so for the generator, we got the control card. Trying to control your emotions. Right here. So this, how this fits with this shadow of intolerance, right? It's about the mind getting entangled with the emotions. So this is about getting intolerance, is when we get emotionally triggered, right? And then the logical mind, the 4, is looking for a reason, and it will find it. It will always find a logical reason, and then it will project the shadow onto the other. Right? So this is the ego wants you to control your emotions. Control your emotions. So this can happen, I forget which sign I talked to you about this, but this can happen so quickly, right? Because it's unconscious. It's an unconscious pattern. So you can use... With control is the 21. It's not activated for this full moon. But you can also control emotions by trying to control the other person. So, right? So this would be like trying to, that person is angry or upset about something, right? And you're trying to control the other person, but really what you're trying to control is you're trying to control their emotions so that you don't feel your own emotions, right? And we'll talk about relationships, like close, intimate relationships. There's one person, and then there's another person in the relationship, and then there's something else. And this is the entity. that's created from these two, right? This is the relationship entity that gets formed here. And so when one person is angry and they're expressing it, what does that mean? So there's not this, well, they're angry. I'd be okay if they weren't angry, if they didn't express their anger. No, it's this person is expressing the anger for the entity, right? So that means they're expressing the anger for you. If they weren't expressing the anger, then you'd be expressing the anger. That's how relationships work in the Aquarian age. Even the normal ones, like the non-twin flame ones, right? So this is you trying to control your own emotional state. So I would look at that, right? And it's going to be expressed through this shadow of intolerance. Yeah. So watching this, am I trying to control? And right? Because I'm getting triggered because of my partner. My partner is emotionally triggered and they're expressing it, and I don't want to feel my own emotions. And then the guidance is the Ten of Pentacles, and this tells me it's a family dynamic, right? So the 4 anyway generators is connected to ancestral karmic debt, right? So using logic to justify projecting shadows onto others. So look no further than the extreme, right? The extreme intolerance would be racism, xenophobia, homophobia, misogyny, all that's right. That's like the extreme of intolerance. That may be that you're part of healing this dynamic for your ancestors. That's what I see there. Okay. So, yeah. So just look at these questions and look at where you're intolerant of others. Be aware of your emotional state. This is about taking accountability for your emotional state, the thoughts in your head, your state of consciousness. This is what it means to be a spiritual adult. And this is the new timeline that we're on. And the new timeline is we all have to step up. We all have to step up our game, right? And that means taking responsibility, because the power of manifestation is going to become stronger and stronger, right? So we have to take responsibility for the thoughts and our emotions and our state of consciousness, right? Okay. Okay, that's what we got for the generators. And then let's do MGs here. There we go. Manifesting generators. Did that come up? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the manifesting generators, we're talking about the full moon activating the 4th gate. And let's do some cards for the MGs. And let me know if you're a manifesting generator in the comment or the chat. Okay. What do we have for the manifesting generator for this full moon? What do they need to hear? No surprise there. Okay, and what's the guidance for the manifesting generator? Swords. Okay. 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 So the manifesting generator got the distracted card right there. And then the guidance is the King of Swords. So interesting. So intolerance. Intolerance. So to me, this is like a distraction from your feelings, MGs. Right? So what happens when you're in distraction? You're in the mind. You're in the mind. The busy bee, right? I'm busy, 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 busy. I'm looking at any ping or ding or notification, right? I'm like remember the pinball machines? I'm just all over the place, right? I'm not focused. I'm not in my center. And when you're not there, you're not present, MGs. And when you're not present, you're not in your power. And you're not watching your mind, right? So an unwatched mind is a dangerous thing, and that's where this intolerance can come in, right? Because you're not aware of your emotions. Your mind goes into distraction, right? And then you're triggered, and then the mind is using logic and to justify projecting the shadow onto the other person. So it's an avoidance, right? An avoidance of these deeper feelings, manifesting generator. Right? So watch that. So you got to look at your MO. What's my motivation in being so busy? Why do I feel like I have to run and do this thing? What am I avoiding? Right? Am I avoiding some deeper feelings that are coming up here? That I got triggered. Right? I got triggered and suddenly I'm intolerant of this person or these people. Right? I'm done with them. I got the hand up. Well, your mind just took over. Your mind just took over. Your not self just took over. That's not in your power. Right? It's not in your power at all. So the guidance is the King of Swords. And the King of Swords suffers no fool. Right? Look at that. The sword, right? The sword of truth. So this is about setting boundaries. Well, with what? With yourself. Setting boundaries with your own mind. No, it's impossible. The mind lives above time and space. It's impossible to keep up with the mind. The mind's to-do list is never ending. It's physically impossible to accomplish everything the mind wants to accomplish. So to me as an MG, this is about you bringing out your King of Swords energy, right? Bringing out that sword energy and saying, no, I don't need to follow my mind. I don't need to follow my not self, right? I'm going to take my time. I'm going to be more patient, right? That's a good word for the manifesting generators. I'm going to have high standards, right? High standards for myself, right? I'm not going to be running around like a chicken with its head cut off, Sorry for that image. Yeah. So this is not allowing, also the King of Swords is not allowing yourself to be overwhelmed by your emotions too, the King of Swords. It's like you're aware. It's a little bit objective, right? Yeah, because it's an air sign, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, the King of Swords. So it's having some objectivity of like, oh, I'm angry right now. It's like awareness, right? So it's taking your awareness that's locked right now inside your mind, which is very limiting, and it's expanding your awareness outside of your mind. So it's like, oh, I'm feeling angry right now. Why is that? Right? And then you stop it from projecting outward. You're like bringing the focus back to yourself. And that's the cross of the sleeping phoenix, is to take self-responsibility, take accountability. Saturn in the 22, take accountability for your state of consciousness, your emotional state, and your mental state. Okay? And look at this as a karmic debt, right? You may become from a long line of busy bees, right, that are very, very productive, and they're distracting themselves from what's really driving them, which is trying to avoid these deeper emotions. So you do that, you free the awareness from the mind, and then comes understanding. Then you got the big picture, right? You're able to see why you're doing what you're doing, why these people are doing what they're doing, and then this brings forgiveness. Very good for full moon for the MGs. Okay. And then let's go for the projectors. Let me know if you're a projector. Sun. Oh, it didn't come up, did it? No. A sec here. There we go. Should be up now. Okay, projectors, we're talking about the full moon and the fourth, activating the fourth gate, the shadow of intolerance, the gift of understanding, and the city of forgiveness. And so we'll do some cards for you. Okay. Let's see what we got for the projectors for this full moon. That's the ego that's up for the projectors. Okay. What do we have for the projectors? Nihilism. Okay. What do we have for the guidance? What do we have for the guidance? Okay. Okay, projectors. Interesting. I think we get this card pretty much every live stream, it seems. Which makes sense. Now I know why it makes sense. Okay. So the full moon is illuminating this pattern that's unconscious. And it's intolerance, the shadow of intolerance, the gift of understanding, and the city of forgiveness. And you got the nihilism card. Right? So this is the cold depression that I talked about before. And this is a phenomenon that happens on the planet during times of great transition, which we're in right now, because we're moving out of one era to the next. And so this is when the soul is basically frozen, has been frozen, right? Which really, the age of Pisces has been really ruled by the ego. And we're seeing the breakdown, right, happening out in the world. This ego is getting dismantled. So it can bring a period where when the soul starts to unfreeze, it can bring this emptiness, especially if you've been identified with your ego, and the ego has you chasing carrots in the material world, and titles and relationships and money and whatever, even spiritual knowledge, right? If you bring it to the spiritual world, that when this ego starts dismantling, there can be this sense of emptiness. Because the ego is starting to dissolve, right? So this is the ego will tell you that life is meaningless. Life is meaningless. So maybe you've been in a funk, right? And maybe this intolerance, right? This shadow of intolerance will come up around this life has no meaning. Right, life has no meaning. You could be intolerant of just the world, right? I'm just intolerant of the world. They're not your projector. right? Change isn't moving fast enough, which I find surprising that you would say that actually now, because it seems to be moving fast, right? But maybe not fast enough. The world's not changing fast enough. I'm intolerant of this, right? And the human emotions, let's bring it back to the emotional body. So the human emotions could be like insecurity, because it's insecurity, nervousness. The 36 is still activated with the North Node. So insecurity, fear, whatever. And then the mind is getting tangled up with these emotions. And then this could be the story that life is meaningless, everything's hopeless. There's not, right? It's not worth living. Why am I living this life? Right? This Groundhog Day life or whatever it is, right? So you want to go to the human emotions, right? And nihilism could feel like a numbness. Well, I'm not really feeling anything. I just feel kind of numb, kind of blah, right? Well, even the numbness is a feeling. It's like you want to feel deeper into the numbness. And something will break, right? And so to me, this is the soul that wants to be liberated from this ego. Remember, we're talking ancestral karmic debt. So this may have been something that's followed you lifetime after lifetime, this intolerance. Intolerance of yourself, intolerance of others, intolerance of the world, right? So it's just like separating, like don't let the mind get entangled with the emotions. Feel the emotions, and then understanding and forgiveness can surface. So this is, and this will bring you peace, right? This will bring you peace and kind of resurrect you, right? Because the 49, remember the programming partner of the 4, this is the 4. The 49 is rebirth. It's a rebirth. So the potential of this rebirth. But the thing, projector, all you need to know is that it's to illuminate this pattern, this deeper pattern in the unconscious. And then the guidance is the death card, right? So that's totally a release. It's a letting go. This is it's not like actual physical death, but it's a transition. It's Jiwan Mukti. It's dead while alive, right? Which means an ego death. So this ego has to go, and it's connected also to the 5 of Swords, this competition. So I would look at that too. Competition, arguments, right? This old way of being. And as a projector, you can't compete with a generator, right? You can't compete with a generator or a manifestor. You're your own type. Yeah. Okay. So what else did I want to say about that? Intolerance. Death. Yeah. So that's what I would say. This is the ego. This is like one of the major egos. That's my sense for the projectors. Is a major ego. Right? That wants you to give up. That wants you to give up. That wants you, that your soul buried and be miserable. Miserable. Remember the ego? The ego's kryptonite is joy and happiness and laughter. Right? True joy, happiness, and laughter, which is not contingent on what's going on in the external world. Right? Yeah. But it's around this competition, has to die, that you don't need to compete in this generator world. You got to know that this world is completely changing, right? So there can be this dynamic of competition that has to go. Yeah. Anyway, let me know, projectors, in the chat or the comment section, and then we'll go to, okay, just give me a second. I just need a little drink of my soda. Okay. Okay. Oh, Lori Brown's the projector. Did I make a video on cold depression? I forget. Oh, thank you, Teresa. And there's also a cold depression meditation that I did too. One of my favorite go-tos, the Why You Do one. Yeah. Maybe that's a good question. She said, Lori asked, I know she's a projector, but she asked, is competition ever healthy? Is competition ever healthy? Where it's unhealthy is when it's coming from the ego, because unhealthy competition is I'm better, right? I'm better than. There's a superior, I'm superior, you're inferior. And it's only to build up the ego. Now, healthy competition, I mean, you can compete with yourself to be a better I want to be more authentic than I was yesterday, right? I want to improve upon my authenticity, right? That would be a good way to look at it. But I would use it as, how I look at it is, if I see somebody like really, really thriving, especially when it is someone in your own field and you see someone really, really thriving, I ask myself sometimes, like, I don't look at their successes and the, numbers and measurements and stuff. It's like, what do I like about that person, right? What do I like about that? I like the way they communicate. I like how they communicate. And then it's always about my strength in a way. Like I'm recognizing my own self in that person. So that's like the golden shadow. We've got the dark shadow, but we've got the golden shadow. What you recognize in another person is usually your strength. And then you're saying, oh, but that's what I like about myself. I like how I communicate, So it can work that way. But if you really want to go deep, if this is like a dynamic that's up for you, especially if you got the 51, let me know if you got the 51 activated, then you're going to have to deal with competition, the shadow of competition. And this is, it comes from your childhood, right? This jealousy and competition comes from childhood, and it's like competing with your siblings for love, right? So you can explore that. Thank you for that question, Lori. Okay. And let's giddy up to the manifestors here. Okay. And let me know how you feel about Saturdays, because I am not into it. I feel, not that I'm not enjoying being here, but I feel like I'm way more in the flow on Fridays. So I got to experience what it's like on a Saturday. Saturn, right? Saturday's ruled by Saturn. Okay, and Friday's Venus, right? And I'm a Taurus, right? I got a stellium in Taurus, so Venus is one of my main planets. Okay, so we're at manifestors. So manifestors, we're talking about the fourth gate here. Right? So it's the shadow of intolerance, the gift of understanding, in the city of forgiveness. And so what do we have for our manifestor friends? Okay. What else? What else is the manifestor? What's the guidance for the manifestor? Okay. So the manifestor got the white knight. The white knight. So this could be an intolerance because the white knight's not coming. The white knight's not showing up in your life, right? So this could be you, and especially if you're a manifestor woman, right? The manifestor women have to get really good at not falling into this damsel in distress thing, right? They're not to wait for a white knight. In fact, they're the white knights, right? The white damsels, if you want to call them, right? And so there can be some intolerance, right, of other people. They're not coming in. They're not coming in to save me. They're not helping me, not supporting me, or whatever, right? So, so I would look at that right here. And so the human emotions could be like abandonment, fear, insecurity, right? But you got to remind yourself, go to the mirror right now and say, I'm a manifestor. Everybody wants to be a manifestor except me. I have all this power and I'm pretending that I'm not. And it's connected perhaps to your gender, right? I'm just feeling the female manifestors here, right? So not letting the ego say, well, I can't do that. I've got to wait, right? I got to be the girl. It's like, no, you're a manifestor. You have to initiate everything. Your relationships, everything you have to initiate. That's what's correct for you. And then you got the King of Pentacles for guidance and the Nine of Wands. And this is about you are a powerful warrior, right? You're a powerful warrior right there. The wounded warrior, right? So, and then the King of Pentacles. So you could be the Queen of Pentacles too if you want to, right? So the King of Pentacles is not waiting for someone to save him, right? The Queen of Pentacles is not waiting for someone to save her. Yeah. So this is about you're financially secure. You're the one. You've got all your pentacles. You've got all your finances. You're self-reliant. You're actually one who can support others. So there's the ego. So you got to let this ego go, right? Yeah. And being intolerant, right? Intolerant of that. Not going into the logical mind. And feeling these deeper emotions, whatever they are, right? That's connected to this white knight. Okay. And now let's finish it off with the reflectors. Whoops. Reflector. Okay. Reflectors. There we go. Okay. So let's do one for reflectors. Okay. Manifestor. Jen Adams is a manifestor. Okay. Where's the reflectors? Tell me where the reflectors. What have you got for the reflectors for this photo? What have you got for the reflectors? Okay. Okay. What's we got for the reflectors? What do we have for the reflectors? And then what's the guidance for the reflectors? What do we have for the reflectors? Okay. What do we have for the reflectors? What do we have for the reflectors? Guidance for the reflectors, please. There we go. Okay. Okay. So the reflector has the lashing out card. And then the guidance is the Two of Swords. So this is about choosing. This is what I feel for the reflectors. Right? So there could be intolerance in your social circles. So people being intolerant, expressing the intolerance in your group. So this is people getting triggered, and then they're using the logic, right, of their mind and projecting this shadow onto other people. And it's related to human emotions, and it's related to this anger. So this is fits with intolerance. This is lashing out. This is reactivity. So we're going to see a lot of emotions. You know, if you go back, if you look at the chart, right, the solar plexus is defined, right? So is the throat, the root, pressure, right? Pressure to speak. I'm going to speak my mind, which is intolerance. So what the Two of Swords is saying is, the Two of Swords says to me that you need to make a decision, right? But you already know the decision you're to make, but you're procrastinating, right? There's a denial. Yeah. So this is, it could be related to the people that are around you, right? So I would, if as a reflector, I would go and spend some time in solitude. Be alone with yourself, right here, right? And just meditate on this intolerance, right? I would go back to your childhood, go to your astrology too, to get more information. Your childhood, because this dynamic of intolerance could come from your childhood, and this is what you're used to. This is your reality. This is your normal, right? And the universe right now is saying it's time to choose. What timeline are you going on? Are you going on the timeline of love, right? And growth and expansion and the sleeping phoenix? Or are you choosing fear, right? Are you choosing fear out of insecurity? So I keep getting that message for the reflectors is about the group, right? The group of people. You want to be in the right group. But anyway, look at your astrology too to get more information. Okay, so just a reminder that the Ancestral Healing Online Retreat is February 28th, March 1st and 2nd, and then there's a support meditation on March 5th, and then the March 9th one is a live meditation there. And I'll have more information up on my website soon, tomorrow, and it'll be open for registration then. So this is a great opportunity for you to even go deeper into letting go of not self and liberating your consciousness from not self. That goes back to your ancestrals, your ancestral line, 7 generations in the past, because these dynamics repeat over and over and over and over through our line. And this is part of our work to do. Our inner work is ancestral healing. Okay, but I'll share more about that later. Okay, so have a good day, good weekend. And if you're on my newsletter list, then the weekly report's going to come out tomorrow, and my newsletter too. Okay, so Sat Namalo, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.